shattered and grieved. See the devil wanna scatter and deceive, and God's no love, he'll leave you battered to bleed.
Brother Mike Ramey, a new addition to ThugExposed.Org. Well, not really a new addition. He's always been a silent partner out there that has always helped guide us and give us wise counsel. So officially now, he is on the team of ThugExposed.Org as our gang specialist. How you doing, Brother Mike?
Well, doing fine, Ray. I want to thank you and the team for having me on when you're having me on this day. Actually, your work is what motivates me. Thug Mentality Exposed was the book I used as a textbook in the Understanding Modern Street Gang course that I taught for 2 years. And that book still motivates me today. The interesting thing about gang life and gang activity around the country is that it's becoming more and more mainstream. It continues to change even as we speak. You know, schools will be soon in session around the country, and gang recruiters and gang members are looking forward to it because the school environment is a perfect place for gang activity. A lot of gang recruiting, a lot of gang communication, sometimes some marking of territories. The schoolhouse has become the new centralized bureau for a lot of these gangs around the country. And that's changed since, I would say, 2007. We're now in 2011, and it really shows no signs of letting up because gang members are getting younger and younger. Myself, I got into gang reporting and the gang issue, which is all tied up in the juvenile crime issue, back in the 1980s when I was a reporter for one of our local radio stations. And once I started looking into what was happening in our juvenile detention center and our juvenile courts, one could say I got hooked. Because of the series of reports I did back in the 80s, our juvenile justice system and juvenile court, juvenile detention centers were cleaned up thoroughly. The judge that was over the juvenile center was retired, and they brought in a new judge, and they built a new juvenile center because of the reporting that I was blessed to do. And this was before I became a Christian, too, but it's been even more exciting since then. That was back in the 80s. And in the 90s, when I went into print, and as a print reporter, I visited Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas, and talked to some other Christian brothers. The late Lee Orr, who was a detective with the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, and Thurman Mitchell, who's now a pastor out in the Kansas City, Missouri as well. Both of them were responsible for covering the Matamoros, Mexico murders, where this murder cult was in full swing, and they were killing victims out there. And when I went out to Kansas City, Missouri to do some reporting, I got a chance to meet these two legends who are also Christians. And the interesting thing was, now this was in the early 90s, and this is when the gangbanger funeral started popping up. You know that the progression of anything in America goes either from west to east or east to west, sometimes from south to north. This thing with gang members paying for their own funerals was really big out in Kansas City, where kids were paying, and this is back in the 90s, they were paying anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 for special caskets,
Wow.
having the kids' hands formed into gang symbols, being buried in gang colors. It was just like a full military funeral. And this is back in 92, 93. And Lee Orr who's no longer with us, he's passed on to glory, made a prediction that this would be crossing the country. And sure enough, when I got back to Indianapolis, which is where I live now, and was looking into the situation here, sure enough, our funeral directors were doing gangbanger funerals, and they didn't want people to know about it. They didn't want people to know that these guys were walking in, plunking down $10,000, $15,000 in cash and saying, hey, look, this is what we want done to this guy. And the funeral directors were taking the money. They weren't saying no. They were taking the money. That's the central thing involved in gang activity, is who's getting the money.
Wow.
When you're talking about a football jersey going for $35 to $50 used, and a gang member takes that and has to have that in order to be in his clique, the NFL's making money. The people that make the jersey making money. The gang member is paying that money, and he's usually getting that money from stealing it from you and me.
So unfortunately, you're saying that gang banging is fueling the economy.
Yes, sir. It is.
Making away at the same time, fueling a lot more violence through that.
Yes,
it's promoting
violence. It's a vicious circle. It's a vicious circle, Ray. Look at it this way: the entertainment industry, the sports industry, the mainstream media, they all work together to either make things or break things. They exclude Jesus Christ, but they put forth their own particular message, and they get surprised when people act on it. Over the last 5 years, we've seen NFL players gunned down by rival gang members because they wore the wrong colors in public.
Or you see a lot of gang members, some of these athletes, are gang members, and a lot of them, you're saying, are either representing themselves through their gang through colors or through, hand signals maybe thrown up discreetly and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real concern. One of the things about Indianapolis is we're the crossroads of America when it comes to the professional sports. We've got the best sports medicine facilities. We've also got the best training facilities and best hospitals, and the athletes all come here to get surgery and this, that, and the other. Every year we've had this, what they call the NFL Combine, where they bring in young players from around the country, and they work out and try to impress NFL coaches with their speed and their stamina and stuff. Well, a couple of years ago, a reporter did a story on the fact that behind the scenes of the Combine, the owners and the coaches were concerned about how many of the players were actually either gang members or known to hang out with gang members. And this is a problem in the NFL. This is a problem in the NBA. This is a problem in Major League Baseball. It's a problem in college sports. The gang mentality has moved from the street to the suite.
One thing that you had told me that really shocked me when you were saying that many of these gang members, especially on the East Coast, are now going to the Ivy League schools to recruit those who are graduating. Some of the elite scholars, in order to help them set up maybe a nonprofit so they can get tax write-offs or set up systems to launder their money. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh, I'd be happy to. A few years back, I was doing some research and found that some of the bigger gangs like MS-13 and 18th Street were recruiting gang members through not only the Ivy League colleges, but through colleges outside of the United States. And they basically they go up to the IT people, they go up to the people that were smart in business and math, and they would make them a proposition. They'd say, or lawyers, they would make them a proposition, say, hey, look, we will pay all of your college notes. We will pay off all your college loans. If you come to work for us, set up our books, set up our not-for-profits, set up our shadow companies, and we'll pay everything off. And this is going on not just in the Ivy League schools, it's going on in all colleges, in all conferences. They are, and if one's doing it, you can rest assured that the rest of them are doing it. And I'll tell you something else. Here in Indianapolis, we're just into our Black Expo for this summer, which is 2011. And of course, there's a big police presence downtown, and we got volunteers. But nothing has really changed except they decided to have all the activities in one venue, which was good for security. But the kid that did the shooting last year, where he shot 9 or 10 kids downtown late at night, when people were on the streets, he just pled guilty and just had a deal. And he's coming back to court in the next couple of months. And the only thing that's keeping him from not doing a lot of time in prison is because he's taken a plea deal, which means he'll do maybe 10 to 12 years on the books. That'll be at least 5 to 7 years because we have 2 for 1 good time in Indiana. But the thing about it is this one incident opened up a can of worms that made this city look bad, because we've been in denial for years about gang activity. And as long as I've lived here, gang activity surfaced here in the mid 80s. We've had it in the mid 90s, and we've got it now. The problem is that Indianapolis, like other cities, likes to pretend that it's not that big a problem because the wrong people ain't dying, or the city hasn't been embarrassed. And when
I see that a lot of things, people always focus on the inner cities, but with, like you said, with the media, with the entertainment industry, this mentality is floated out to the suburbs.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a documentary on Little Rock, Arkansas, showing a very well-to-do white suburb that had Bloods and Crips in it. And at that time, Little Rock, Arkansas was the murder capital of the United States.
Right.
Do you see this trend just spreading throughout the United States? Or what have you seen as a gang specialist with these gangs infiltrating not just the middle class, but the upper class neighborhoods?
Well, let's put it this way. We've got gang activity in all of our high schools, in most of our middle schools, and in some of our elementary schools. So my county is, they've got it. It's there. In a lot of places, we have to remember something. It took MTV 7 years to move rap and hip hop from the streets to the suburbs to the rural areas. So, and like I said, as a Christian, the devil's slick. We don't think of all the spiritual significance that's going on with gang activity. These kids, you've got gang kids now at 2, 3, 4 years old that have not only have got their tats.
Wow.
But
2, 3, 4 years old.
2 or 3, 4 years old, not only got their tats, but they have started to learn their gang alphabets before going to school. You've got kids in their prepubescent, I would say 7, 8, 9 years old, that are taking dope to school for their gangs, that are in as full-fledged members of their gangs. And
wow.
It's getting younger, and it's getting younger. So the demographics are going down, not up.
That's so true. That's so true, because I remember I was in Central California, out in Modesto, and I was photographing, I do photography, I was photographing a football team, and we were doing the portraits. And I remember I was photographing this young kid, must have been it was a Pee-wee team, probably about 7 years old. And I remember the father was standing over my back, and he would say, "Make sure you get the number." And I wasn't really, zooming in on that at first. He said, "Make sure you get the number." And he kept turning it around and just adjusting his son. But later I found out that individual, that parent, was a gang member. Mm-hmm. And the number that his kid was wearing was a number that represented the gang. of the dad. So he wanted to make sure that I got a clear shot of that jersey. And I thought that was real sad.
Well, I got one even better for you than that. I was a juvenile probation officer for 6 years, and I did the I call it the knucklehead caseload. I had the worst of the worst, and so I understand about surveillance and electronics and all that other stuff and court testimony. But some of the kids I had towards the end of my tenure, I was seeing kids at 12 and 13 that were sporting tats. That were they weren't bootleg tats. These were professionally done, and they were actually sporting, vice lords, disciples, and these kids were, these are like second generation bangers because daddy and mommy are bangers, so they're going to be bangers, and it's normal for them to sit there and flash their tattoos. And I had one kid that was 11 sit in my office doing his gang alphabet in front of his social worker and his father.
And
And
that's true. A lot of these games are sophisticated. A lot of people don't know that they have their own alphabet system.
well,
They only sign languages.
well, that's just it. See, part of the problem with gang activities, these guys are borrowers. They're the ultimate in danger because they borrow the wrong things. In California, for you guys, it's the Bloods and the Crips. In Illinois, in the Midwest, it's vice lords and disciples. They'll eat Bloods and Crips for lunch. And what has happened just within the last year is that the Bloods and the Crips have come to the Midwest and negotiated with the hierarchy in Illinois, in Chicago, so they could set up shop in the Midwest, because up to this year, you didn't have Bloods and Crips in the Midwest. I mean, not real Bloods and Crips, but you got them now. And also, as the kids in California are moving away from gang activity, and you've seen this on Gangland, that series, they move to Vegas and Nevada, and they start their own cliques. But they mix their cliques with Bloods and Crips be working together and form a new gang. So now you got hybrid gangs. Then you've got what we call flash gangs or flash mobs. I call them flash gangs because everybody's connected by.
I want to know. Yeah, what is this flash gang? Can you just define that? For our audience.
It's a flash mob aimed at criminal activity. So I call them flash gangs. I call gangs in general modern street gangs because of the spiritual undertone to what gang activity is. See, I'm old enough to remember West Side Story. And unfortunately, so are a lot of people that work with gangs, is that they think that these kids are kids, they're fighting over turf, they're protecting the neighborhood. That's no longer applicable. These gangs have modernized. That's why I call them modern street gangs, because gang activity today is aimed at power, money, and greed. These kids, to get into a gang now, you have to commit criminal activity. And that's why I tell people there's no such thing as peewees. There's no such thing as wannabe gang members anymore. You are recruited and you come into the activity ready to work. There are no people sitting on the sidelines anymore. These kids, like I said, one of the things I did when I was a probation officer for juvenile court is that the kids that would come in and they commit these stupid crimes. Here's a kid, never been in trouble before. All of a sudden, he decides to go and shoplift a fifth of liquor, a video game, a game system, from XYZ retail outlet, one of the bigger retail outlets. And here he comes, and the one thing he wanted after his initial hearing that he insisted that he got And all these kids insisted that they got was their court card to prove when they got to come back, but it proved that they committed a crime and now they're in the system. And
wow,
they could show
that's true. That's in the entertainment industry. It's like you can't make a gangster record unless you got a record.
right.
You know, I remember going through at Borders and I was looking at the magazine stuff, and it said DJ Quick proves his stud. So people were questioning his criminal, mentality. Saying that has he really been a criminal? Can he be a spokesman for Compton? So in this article, he's proving his stud. As a badge of honor.
Right. And what we're seeing now in the Midwest, and it's actually happening in a couple other places around the country, is that gang members realize that you can't go out and kill folk and commit big-time crimes against folk because that pretty much takes out the gang member. Because if you go out and kill somebody, eventually they're going to find you with the technology, with what I call the CSI method, and they'll find you, and they got your DNA, and you're gone. So what they're doing is they're committing lower-level crimes, like these flash gangs. The flash gang will go out, 20, 30, 40 of them, rob a store, mass shoplift, and leave. Of course,
they use technology like Twitter. That's
right.
what I'm hearing them using, like Twitter and Facebook, or
right.
So these gangs are getting pretty high tech. And,
well, they've got those iPhones, those iPhones and those iPads. Those are the that's the one of the requirements that a kid has to have. He has to have something in which he can listen to his gang's anthem, and he also has to have something to have immediate contact with his gang members, with his gang crew. So, of course, the kid's going to have a cell phone. He's going to have an iPhone. He's going to have a BlackBerry, one of those tools to keep in immediate contact with the gang. Now,
Mike, we got about 5 minutes left. But like I said, we're going to continue this. This is going to be an ongoing thing that we're going to continue to do, to have you here. Hopefully we'd have you here at least, twice a month or so.
Well, like I said, we'll try.
yeah. But before we leave, because your information is just so vital. But I would like you to maybe just leave something with our audience. Something that you feel that parents need to know. That kids need to know about this culture. Something maybe something along the side of prevention, what they can do. With us. And also, I want you to leave just your information, because you do workshops and consulting. I know that. So if you can do that this time, I appreciate that.
Okay. Well, in spite of all I've talked about, all is not lost. Recently, there was an incident where this kid and his sister were involved in one of those flash gang episodes. Mama saw the tape, saw the kids, talked to the kids fessed up, and Mama took the kids to the police station. That is what parents have to do. Parents have to not only get involved, but they have to get preemptive. They have to get into their kids' bedrooms and check them out on a regular basis. They have to visit their kids at school, and since I'm a former substitute teacher, a veteran substitute teacher, I've been in the schools, high schools, middle schools, and when parents show up, you'd be surprised how fast them kids straighten up. And when I got to meet parents and told the parent who I was, and they told me who they were, and I tell the kid, hey, I met your mama and your daddy, or I met your mama or your daddy, and they know who I am, and they know that I know you. And if I catch you doing something,
about accountability, man.
If I catch you, I'm gonna tell them. That's what parents have to do. Parents have to be not only involved, but they have to be accountable. They have to search the kid's room. The kid ain't paying rent. That is your child.
That's right.
If you don't want the cops to beat that kid, you better administer some discipline to that kid. Now, I'm not perfect as a parent, because I got three of my own. One of them decided that he likes the inside of a cell, and he spent some time in there. That's how I became a probation officer. Was I knew the judge, and I told the judge that, you know, as a non-custodial parent, I told him, it's like, look, I would not mind working here to help some of these kids that are coming from non-custodial families. And I had a lot of success. But on the other side of the coin, you know, because of the way the child support system doesn't enforce visitation, you know, my kid got hooked up in the system. So, and it's like I say, hey, part of it's my fault, part of it's his mother's fault. But bottom line is, part of it's his fault too, because he made the choice. Right. And that's what parents have to remember. Your child is going to make choices based upon what you teach them, but you can't control the choices that they make. My contact information is on your site. Anybody can reach me at Ramey's Gangline at yahoo.com, or you can give me a call, 317-542-8708, 317-542-8708, and I have reasonable rates. And I wanted to thank my brother Ray Johnson, the maestro of the gang workshop, for being a part of this. And just want to say that I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys somewhere down the road.
Hey, God bless you, Brother Mike, man, and thanks for those nuggets of wisdom that you drop, man, that you always drop, you know. And like I say, I really appreciate you always being available to us for consulting and just for guidance. So we look forward to our next conversation.
All righty. We'll see you, sir.
Everyone out there, God bless you.
All right.
And check out our new podcast online. Okay. Take care, brother.
Right.
There's victory in the name. There's healing in the name.
Healing.
Anointing in the name.
Yes.
There is peace in the name. If you would speak aloud the name, that every knee shall bow before.
Every knee.